QJO Initiative exists to inspire action by highlighting the stories of the tired, the bruised, and the bloody in pursuit of their life's purpose. We will participate in recreation with intention to reveal the highs and lows that accompany each person on the journey to success. We are SGOC Media, and this is the Quit Jerking Off Initiative.
Anybody who's listened to a podcast that has Ali Boone's name on it, they get to know what Ali Boone does, right? They get to know where you spend your time, how you make your money, how you built your business, and all that kind of crap. But we want to know, while we're standing here, who are you? Who are you? Why do you go do all that stuff? There's a reason you're doing it.
You know, I grew up in I think, totally typical mindset of go to school, get good grades, get a good degree, get the secure job, save, retire. It's the routine, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're all taught it. And so I did that, and I did it with flying colors. Like, I had just a kick-ass job. Like, I was a top secret flight test engineer. You know, I had what people perceived to be the dream job.
Mm-hmm.
But it was never my dream. Part of it was like, I didn't want to work for anybody. And I didn't want to work for corporate, all that kind of stuff. But as it's evolved, it's one thing to work on myself. It's another thing to help the world. And so the things I thought were going to be important turned out to not. And so as I've evolved, that's the question I'm asking myself, is like, there's me, and then there's my part in this world, and what I want that to be. I can't imagine that any of us are born knowing exactly who we are. I know through like my experiences, like I thought I was one thing, then I thought I was another thing. Yesterday I thought I was something, today I'm something. You know, it's kind of like I almost sometimes feel like I have split personalities. And, you know, looking back, the way that I grew up, the way that I got into the jobs that I did, all of that, and then that transition out. And I've learned a lot about myself to know that I'm not who I thought I was. You know, I went from aerospace engineering into real estate. I talk about real estate all the time, like you said on the podcast, but it's like, what does real estate get me? And that's actually the more important thing. And it gets me time, enjoyment. I can pursue other ventures, but I can also start helping people. It's not just helping people to help other people, it's following a passion. Like, we all kind of have different things that just like grab us by the heartstrings. And so, you know, just in the last 5 years, I've started exploring that for myself. A lot of people don't have the balls, if you will, to follow that, because it does create anxiety. It's, you know, it's scary. We're supposed to follow this certain path, all those things. And it's like, well, if I'm going to completely venture off this path, probably by myself, because everyone else is going to be busy telling me not to do it, it can be fearful. You know, we don't know what we're stepping into. Like, if I stray from the herd, you know, what's going to happen? Am I going to get caught in a barbed wire fence? Like, and you probably will. Yeah. But it's the willingness to do that.
Nothing wrong with getting caught in the fence as long as you get your ass out.
Exactly.
When we bring people out here, I love to ask them, what do you expect?
I think one thing that's been cool for me is, you know, I talk about being from Georgia all the time, like it's my country roots, and so I've camped, I've lived in Tennessee, all that kind of stuff. And what's been really cool about this setup is oftentimes I catch myself, you know, I'm from Georgia, I live in California. You know, I literally have one foot on both sides of everything. And I've never been camping with like nice stuff. There's like roughing it, and then there's nice pretentious stuff. You know, and sometimes I don't always realize there's like a crossover, because it's like, oh, if we think about spending a lot of money on something, it's gonna be really, you know, pretentious and rich and like, you know, that kind of thing. But it's like, wait a minute, like those two worlds can merge. And I know for myself, I oftentimes have a hard time merging those, because like part of my brain wants to stay on this side so I can stay connected with the people, with the whatever's going on, and then the other part of me, the driven part, all that kind of stuff, wants to be on this side. And it's like, there's a middle. and I've never seen camping gear like this. It's like, do the rite of passage, and then I want a mattress.
Yep. So how about like the Jeep stuff? Because I know you've had Jeep before. So how did that compare previous Jeep ownership to what we did these last couple days?
These are easily the most badass Jeeps I've ever been in, and with insane capability, but they are, you can take them on the road also.
We always like to find out what what motivated a person to come out here. You know, and I appreciate the fact that you made the trek. And that's one of the cool parts of being able to go out on a rock crawling trail. One, you get people a little uncomfortable, different environment. You get to ask about the person.
Yeah.
So you've got something that drives you all the time. People need to hear about that because it's not the money, right? It's not the awards. It's not any sort of form of fame or anything like that. There's something else.
Yeah.
Tell us about what motivates you to keep doing what you do.
For me, it's freedom. It really, like, you know, a lot of people talk about time and all that kind of stuff, but it's like, what does time get us? Freedom. What does financial independence get us? Freedom. And it's, for me, I'm a freedom extremist, if that's even a word. Like, I joke because my Xterra is a stick shift. And I'm like, I'm probably the only person in LA that drives a stick shift because I don't even like my transmission telling me what to do. Like, I want to decide when I want to shift gears. And, you know, it's an extreme example, but that freedom for me, like, whether it's small things day to day, like if a friend calls and says, hey, do you want to go to lunch? I want that option. I may not go to lunch, but I want that option on Tuesday. I don't want to have to take a vacation day or like ask permission to get out of staff. You know, like, I want that freedom. And then on a bigger scale, you know, I want the freedom to have the time to pursue other things. I want freedom to come out rock crawling if I get in, but like, I never want to have to say no to something because of something else. I want that freedom to help other people, because if I'm trapped in my own life, whether it's time, financially, whatever, you know, I'm gonna get stuck spending a lot of time dealing with myself. And so, you know, when I'm able to create freedom, whether it's time, money, whatever, you know, then I can pursue, I don't know if, you know, things like my purpose, if you want to call it that, but things that I'm here to do, whatever that may be. You know, I want to help, I want to be wherever somebody needs me.
What's that example of help?
I do prison work. Prison's kind of my favorite place on the planet.
So, we definitely need to hear more about this.
And prisoners are kind of my favorite people on the planet too. So I started working in the prisons 4 years ago, I think. California prisons, and it has been, you know, it's kind of like everything I thought I knew is just different now, because there's, it's such a perspective to meet people, you know, like, we all know trauma exists, but to hear about levels of trauma that I would probably fortunately never exposed to, and to hear real life stories, and it's like, what are we doing? Like, it's game changing.
What are you doing in the prisons, and who are you, like, what organization are you with that allows you to get in there and do what you're doing?
So the organization, it's a nonprofit. It's called the Freedom to Choose Project. Kind of in my whole life transition, you know, I said, like, I was Aerospace Engineer, all that whole thing. So I had a master's degree in Aerospace Engineering, and fast forward a few years later, I had taken a job transfer from Georgia to California. And somehow in there, I found out about this master's program in spiritual psychology. And all I could think about was, how funny would that be to tell people I have a master's degree in Aerospace Engineering and a master's in spiritual psychology. That was the only reason I signed up for this class. I was like, that'll be hilarious. Because people are gonna be like, what? And so I actually ended up really enjoying the program, but they were the ones who kept referencing this prison project because it stemmed out of that school. So what I did for a master's program was an experiential program. Like, it's very little lecturing. Like, you're doing the work all the time. And so they actually took all of those concepts and put it into the prison. And the work is based off the work of Viktor Frankl. You know, he was one of the Nazi concentration camp survivors, one of the few, and he wrote Man's Search for Meaning.
Yep.
And he, in the camp, kind of, I don't know, came up with a theory, or it dawned on him or something. He's like, you know, we only have control over one thing. There's one thing nobody else can take from us.
Mindset?
It's our attitude in any given situation. Mindset. It's like, how can I, despite what's around me, change my attitude about this? And he survived it. And so we kind of do the same thing in the prison. It's like, yes, you have these bars around you. Yes, you have barbed wire. Yes, you're kind of stuck in here, but how can you free yourself internally? And so, I was telling Aaron, like, you know, we have handouts and different skills we go through and whatever, but at the end of the day, I think one of the most important things we do is we go in there and we genuinely love them. I think one of the biggest messages that we try and get across is when people go to prison, they are told, especially if they're lifers, they're told you're going to die in prison. But the more generalized message is like, you are shit. You did this shitty thing, you are shit. And that is, I think, a mindset that so many people outside of prison don't realize how serious they take that. And they suddenly believe they're worthless. And they did what they did, and it has the impacts it's going to have. But we try and explain, like, yes, you did the shitty thing. It does not mean you're a shitty person. Like, you are still a valuable, worthy person. But, you know, some of them have never had a family member in their lives tell them they love them. You know, they just have never been in a situation where they're either not being judged or whatever. And we just sit across from them and we're like, anything you want, like, we can talk about anything. And so to be heard, to not feel like a prisoner for 5 seconds, it's just, I mean, it's game changing.
So your new business venture, real estate investing, all right, it's probably not even new to you, but it's completely opposite of what your degree was, aerospace engineering, right?
I don't know. I can do some mean spreadsheets in it still.
But do you
Brought
find
that part of engineering
do you
with me.
find that business, I mean, you're good at it. Do you find it complex?
Investing itself is super complex. My business is very simple, I think. The things that I work with are a lot more on the simple end of it. One thing that I love and I try and help people with, you know, because I'm more of like, you know, I'm not the broker. I'm not the technical person in it. I'm the emotional support dog, really. Like, I help kind of hold people's hands, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, one thing I'd like to help people about real estate is trying to help them understand what's really a pretty complicated industry. And in a way, it's not complicated, but because none of us learned anything about it in school, it's like, you know, it's like how to be a real estate investor. You hit Google and it's like, uh-oh.
Information overload?
Yeah, it's information overload. You don't know who's telling you what. You don't know if this guy next to you is a total scam. You know, it's just, it can be intimidating. And so kind of what I like to help people with, and what I want people to know, whether it's me helping or not, is it's such a cool industry, and it has so many things you can do in it, and so many things it can get you to. It's a vehicle. And I don't want people to be left out of that because they either don't understand what they're doing or they listen to the wrong person. My part of it, you know, there's a lot of technical information, there's a lot of mentors who can help you learn how to do that stuff. I'm more on like the mindset of it, of like, you know, take that step back and like, let's look at it as a whole and try and figure out how best you might be able to navigate the waters. Because like I said, A, I don't want you to fail, and B, I don't want you to hate this amazing industry. I've started doing more YouTube videos. That's kind of a newer thing. I talk to tons of people one-on-one. I was a writer for Bigger Pockets, and so people reach out all the time. And so it's really it's kind of cool because it's the one-on-one interactions, because I can feel out, like, where are you? Are you brand new? Are you clueless? Do you have, you know, what's going on? And then just kind of gauge it, because everybody's in a different position.
How does that feel to see somebody go from new and clueless to starting getting some traction?
It's really exciting to see them get the traction, like, for their financial investment, you know, for the portfolio. But what I love is even the confidence in them. It's kind of like, you know, like if a little toddler does something right for the first time and they're just like, you know, it's that excitement. You know, if you're a parent, you see a kid, it's that, like, they did it. I think the number one trait that somebody can be given as a kid, or whether it's taken away or given or whatever, I think confidence is one of the absolute most important, because so many people I've met who truly don't have confidence. They can't bring themselves to do the initiatives, to go for it, to, you know, wake up early, to hit it hard, to do the next business thing, whatever they're trying to do. But if someone doesn't already have confidence, if you can somehow help them connect with that, it's not like you have to go find it. It's like, connect with it. Like, yes, you're worth a damn. Like, you got this. Period.
There's confidence that got you here, because you ain't never met any of us, right? Not a damn one of us face to face.
Actually, now you say that.
You've been here amongst a bunch of people. This is the first time you ever seen any of us face to face.
Yeah.
And you showed up.
You said Jeeps and rock crawling. I'm like, I just like, that's all you had to say to me. I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about the fact I wouldn't know anyone.
All right. Well, thanks again.
Thank you for having me. This is amazing.